de Naciones Unidas para la Economía Social y Solidaria dentro del marco del GSEF. Solo indicaros que tenemos interpretación disponible en la aplicación Zoom. Podéis clicar al botón de interpretación y elegir el idioma español o inglés. Está disponible en español o inglés la interpretación y luego en la página de GSEF, si estáis siguiendo desde ahí la sesión, podéis elegir también un canal o otro en español o inglés. Y ahora voy a cambiar al inglés. So, good afternoon, good night, and also good evening for every one of you. Thank you for being here to this session, which is entitled Develop Territorial and International Alliances to Promote the Social and Solidarity Economy as a People-Centered and Planet-Sensitive Economy. This session is co-organized by the United Nations Task Force for Social and Solidarity Economy and by RIPES, which is the Intercontinental Network for the Promotion of Social Solidarity Economy. And let me first start with some housekeeping rules. Interpretation is provided into English and Spanish, and you can select the channel by clicking on the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen. And also, there will be space for debate and questions and answers on the last 20 minutes of the session. So please feel free to ask your questions either in GSEF's website, where the session is being broadcast, or in the YouTube channel, where also the session is being broadcast, or the questions and answers chat box in the Zoom application. Let me also inform you that unfortunately, we have suffered some last-minute changes to our agenda, which will be modified as follows. Mrs. Chantaline Carpentier, who's the director of the New York office at United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, has had an unexpected change in her busy agenda and will not be able to be here with us today. Also, Mrs. Judith Hitchman, who's the joint coordinator of RIPES and co-president of Urgency, is unfortunately feeling sick, and we do not have the pleasure of her presence either. So, unfortunately, you are stuck with me as a substitute for the moderation for the opening and the closing remarks. Let me start also thanking the participants and the speakers, and also especially to the United Nations Task Force for Social and Solidarity Economy, and to INAES and GSEFs, who are the organizers of this wonderful forum. We are gathered here in this forum in the middle of a humanitarian crisis as the world continues to suffer the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on our lives. Its consequences for public health, the economy, and society continue to unfold, causing massive job losses, especially, but not only in the informal economy, and creating hunger and homelessness, while governments around the world struggle to provide both quick responses and long-term strategic plans. So the world needs to embrace radical alternative approaches to the business as usual to rebuild after this pandemic, and also to enlarge and increase the contributions to achieving the Agenda 2030. Social and solidarity economy is at the heart of this approach. Over the last 25 years, grassroots organizations have developed cooperatives and innovative community-led solutions to meeting their needs in housing, sustainable food systems, social protection and health, in helping people move beyond the informal economy, etc., etc. And from RIPES, we have been building a global network of solidarity for these last 25 years as well. From the grassroots, we have grown together across all continents, promoting social and solidarity economy as a powerful solution and an alternative reconstruction after COVID. So in the spirit of co-construction and working in alliances, we are organizing this session in partnership with the United Nations Task Force for Social and Solidarity Economy. This session will reflect on different key aspects characterizing the social and solidarity economy as key actor in the implementation of the Agenda 2030. The panel discussions will focus on the importance of alliances and partnerships at different levels: local, national, regional, and international, to strengthen social and solidarity economy ecosystems and promote its role in the achievement of the SDGs. So therefore, without further ado, let me introduce you to the first two speakers of the introductory session, who are Mr. Vic van Vuuren, who's the chair of the United Nations Task Force for Social and Solidarity Economy and director of the Enterprises Department at ILO. And then we'll go to Mrs. Laurence Quark, who's the Secretary General at GSEF. So, Mr. Vic van Vuuren, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and hi everybody. You know, this week has been many discussions at this great conference of GSEF, and you know, one wonders, with all the words of wisdom that are spoken, what does one take from it? And I think we need to find one or two jewels that we can take from these discussions and make them happen, because it's good to have a talk shop and we need to debate things and we have to dialogue. But at the end of the day, we've got to go out from these meetings and make a difference in the lives of people. This pandemic that we're going through has exposed many fragilities in our economies and societies and deepened existing inequalities, while highlighting the need for resilience, innovation, and cooperation. And the social and solidarity organizations face important challenges today, but they also present opportunities and answers, especially in developing economies, where there's still a gap in the enabling environment and the policy framework. A lot remains to be done in terms of creating enabling conditions in these countries. We need to make sure that this divide doesn't get bigger and bigger between the developed and the developing economies. And we need to keep that connection through platforms like these. And I want to congratulate GSEF for this conference. Many members of the UN Task Force for the Social and Solidarity Economy, such as the ILO, the OECD, the UNDP, are working in different countries to support governments in such direction. But we are creating pockets of excellence and we're not able to scale up. And we now need to find a way of scaling up. At the same time, SSE organizations are part of the solution, especially in addressing the needs linked to the huge social and environmental deficits. A human-centered economy represents the future. I keep saying that we need to reflect on the fact that we're talking about the lives of human beings and not machines. Actually, it represents the present. As the current pandemic is showing us, we need to rethink urgently the way we do business in order to ensure a planet-centered and planet-sensitive long-term recovery. A change in the culture of doing business is crucial. And one area that we need to jack up is that of education. Then I'd like to talk a little bit about the importance of partnerships, because process is equally important as content. The interesting feature about the social and solidarity economy is that it is an economy that serves people, a tool to advance the access to certain rights, to better jobs and living conditions for people, including also the most excluded people. This is why at the UN Task Force, we speak about the opportunity to create partnerships with actors and movements of the SSE in order to accelerate the achievement and localizing of the Sustainable Development Goals. The UN Task Force is a unique animal where we've got UN members and observers, and this is a win-win situation. The task force includes as observers many active umbrella organizations who can play an interesting role at international and regional levels, such as REPES, and that is well represented tonight by Yvonne and his team, and the International Cooperative Alliance, GSEF, Social Economy Europe, and many others. Partnership among different actors is the key at all levels, and it is the core of SDG 17 of the Agenda 2030. At the local level, SSE is often associated with social innovation, which may consist of new products or services or new methods of production. SSE organizations in partnership with the public sector are drivers of social innovation because they are often based on participatory governance and are rooted in the local context and community. So they can identify new social needs, find ways to satisfy those needs, and initiate processes of bottom-up social innovation. We need to move from activities of necessity to activities of opportunity. At the national level, SSE policies and programs should be mainstreamed and not on the sideline, as is the case in many countries. They need to be within the national development plans and policies. Synergies with other policy fields such as the circular economy, just transition, and the digital transition will be crucial to make a difference. Moreover, partnerships and social dialogue should be at the core of this policy-making process. At the regional level, and I'm coming to the conclusion now, it is very interesting to observe that many institutions are co-constructing developmental and recovery strategies across transversal policy areas. For instance, the European Commission will launch an EU action plan for the social economy this year in cooperation with the EU SSE movement. Antonio Pedreno of the Social Economy Europe will further explore this point. I think it will be Victor that will be talking to this point, and not Antonio, if I'm correct, but Victor Messiger. This is unbelievable work that the Social Economy Europe is doing, and they're leading the way, and we need to learn from this. The African Union is currently working on a regional African SSE strategy with the support of the ILO. At the task force, we are initiating a regionalization process in order to ensure coordination of efforts and create and strengthen partnerships also at regional level. Yvonne Poirier of RIPES will explore further this point in his closing remarks. At the international level, the fora and the alliances put in place by governments and development agencies, actors involved in the SSE movements, are contributing to advance the debate on how to shape agendas aiming at tackling the different challenges that the humanity is facing today. GCEF, or Pact for Impact Alliance, these global alliances are playing a crucial role in raising awareness, informing and encouraging the attention of policymakers, as well as strengthening the awareness of SSE actors themselves about the potential of what is being done at the grassroots level. An important arena to have a broader debate at international level involving governments and social partners from all regions will be the International Labour Conference in June 2022. This will be the first time in the 101-year history of the ILO that we are talking about the social and solidarity economy. The task force, by bringing together such a diverse and rich mix of actors in SSE, are going in the direction of putting these global programs into action in regional and national instances. We're looking at a resolution on the SSE at the UN General Assembly, and we as the task force have heard that countries are very keen towards moving towards a resolution on the social and solidarity economy, and this is going to be very timeous. At the same time, we've created a Knowledge Hub program and platform which aims at creating and sharing knowledge on SSE as a means of implementation at the SDGs. There's a lot that I've said and many key points, but if I say, as I said in the beginning of my discussion, if you can take but one jewel out there and implement that through your respective organizations, then we will start to make an impact and start to scale up. Thank you very much, and I hand back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Van Vuuren. Thank you so much for these words. Now we'll move to Mrs. Laurence Quark, who's the Secretary General of GCEF. GCEF, as you all know, has played a key role in mobilizing social and solidarity economy local actors since its creation in 2013. And we have the pleasure of being here gathered in this forum, thanks to their hard work and also to the hard work of INAES, who are the co-organizers of this forum. So Mrs. Quark, thank you for being here because it's quite late in Korea, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Julie. Good morning, good afternoon to you all. It is my honor to welcome you all, eminent participants and speakers, to this section jointly organized by UN Task Force for Social Solidarity Economy and RIPES. My name is Laurence Quark, as just introduced by Julie, and GCEF is an international network of local governments and social solidarity economy organizations working together in close partnership to promote social solidarity economy as a means to achieve inclusive and sustainable local development. We are currently present in 36 countries with 81 members, among them 32 cities and local governments. At this section, you will look at the role of social solidarity economy to become people-centered and planet-sensitive economy. The important question for me is how to develop territorial and international alliance between governments, other stakeholders, and UN agencies, as well as the social solidarity economy actors. As awareness about the role and potential of social solidarity economy grows, especially in current context and the debate for the strategies to build back better from dramatic consequences of COVID-19 pandemic, especially to address worsening inequalities and poverty in all countries, we are witnessing an increasing number of government, particularly local government and policymakers, are adopting policies and programs to support social solidarity economy as an essential means to address economic, social, and environmental challenges. International organizations such as UN, ILO, OECD are also paying their attention to the value and potential of social solidarity economy. And I think, as already Vic said, the 110th section of the ILC in 2022 of the ILO will be very important to discuss about the role of social solidarity economy to promote decent work, and also as an opportunity to build alliance between three constituent parties of the ILO. As GCEF has experienced since last year that many local governments are interested to know better about the public policies to promote social solidarity economy, and especially from developing countries, we have seen growing demand for capacity building programs coming from local government. We have already conducted 3 major online capacity building programs this year. One was for French-speaking countries of Africa and Europe, and the other one was for the East African countries in English. And from the same week of the GCEF Forum 2021, we are actually conducting 2 weeks of online capacity building program for the government officials from Philippines. As we have seen that with growing their demands and to explore full potential of social solidarity economy as a strategic policy to address some urgent challenges faced by local government, this has been a very important opportunity for us to build a strong partnership between local government and social solidarity economy actors. However, despite of growing interest and political will expressed by many local governments to better understand social solidarity economy public policies, to build an institutional partnership and alliance between local government and social solidarity economy actors are something not evident, and unless it is integrated in legal and police frameworks to promote social solidarity economy. So our challenge is how to create enabling environment for the development of such partnership and territorial alliance more sustainable manner locally and nationally. More specific conditions and mechanisms should be put in place at all levels to build stronger social solidarity economy sector to contribute with more effective responses to the challenges faced by our societies. That's where we see a very important role of UN Task Force for Social Solidarity Economy, and especially in those developing countries, as well as the RIPES to promote the social and solidarity economy as a people-centered and planet-sensitive economy. With this aim of generating a broader and deeper understanding of the necessary strategies and successful practices of building such alliance, I sincerely thank to the UN Task Force for Social Solidarity Economy and RIPES team to offer an opportunity to me on behalf of GCEF to address this word of welcome and solidarity with you all at this very critical time when we really need to engage in a global dialogue, exchange, and mutual learning of good practices through sections like this. I wish you all a very fruitful dialogue and sharing of experience, and particularly strategies to build a strong alliance. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Mrs. Quirk. Thanks, Mr. Van Vuren for your opening remarks. Now we'll move to the panel discussion. I will leave the floor to the moderator of the panel discussion, Roberto Di Meglio, who's a senior official at the International Labour Organization. Roberto, the floor is yours.
Ahora sí, ¿me escuchan? Yo voy a hablar en español, que como hay interpretación me siento más cómodo con el español. Entonces, bueno, buenas noches, buenas tardes, buenos días a todas y todos. Realmente un placer estar en esta sesión, moderando este panel, organizado por RIPES y la Task Force de Naciones Unidas. Quiero agradecer especialmente a Valentina de OIT y a Julie de RIPES por el gran trabajo que han hecho. Me hubiera gustado estar en México, país que he visitado varias veces y que realmente es una pena no poder haber ido. En fin, será para otra. Esta mesa redonda, como decía, organizada por RIPES y la Task Force, es sobre el tema de la relevancia de las alianzas en contribuir a conseguir los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. De hecho, uno de los ODS, el 17, trata exactamente de fortalecer los medios de implementación, revitalizar la Alianza Mundial para el Desarrollo Sostenible. Creo que este tema lo va a desarrollar uno de los speakers más tarde desde el punto de vista del Pact for Impact. En la Agenda 2030 también encontramos repetidamente el concepto de localización de los ODS, concepto que refleja la necesidad de implementar y conseguir los ODS articulando y promoviendo alianzas en los diferentes niveles y entre diferentes niveles. Como saben, lo mencionó el chair de la Task Force, Dick Van Buren, el Grupo de Trabajo Interagencial de Naciones Unidas está acompañando un proceso liderado por algunos países para una resolución de Naciones Unidas sobre la economía social y solidaria. La Task Force considera que la economía social y solidaria es una herramienta importante, potente para localizar los ODS. Y en ese sentido se han realizado muchas actividades. La mesa redonda se centrará en la importancia de las alianzas y asociaciones en diferentes niveles, local, nacional, regional e internacional, para fortalecer los ecosistemas de la economía social y solidaria con el fin de promover una economía centrada en las personas y en el planeta. Vamos a escuchar distintas dimensiones partiendo de lo local. Vamos a tener, creo, el municipio de Bamako, en Mali, en África. Vamos a ir a lo nacional en México, pasando por lo regional, Europa, y lo internacional con el Pact for Impact. A mí me gustaría también poner sobre la mesa un par de preguntas un poco provocatorias desde ya, y si podemos conseguir mediante alianzas una economía centrada en las personas y en el planeta con el paradigma de producción y consumo vigente. El documento de la ONU, de las Naciones Unidas, Transformar nuestro mundo, la Agenda 2030 para el Desarrollo Sostenible, que fue adoptada, como se recordarán, en septiembre del 2015, en el punto 28 dice textualmente: nos comprometemos a efectuar cambios fundamentales en la manera en que nuestras sociedades producen y consuman bienes y servicios. Bueno, me parece que la crisis generada por el COVID-19 está mostrando cuán escasa sea la solidaridad internacional. Pienso en el tema de la disponibilidad de las vacunas. Pienso, por ejemplo, en el tema del alivio de la deuda en los países en desarrollo. Todos temas de los cuales se habla muy poco. Y yo creo que esto entra dentro lo más amplio que es la manera en la cual nuestras sociedades producen y consumen bienes y servicios. Entonces, la otra pregunta que hago es, ¿será posible que las alianzas que estamos impulsando en diferentes niveles puedan realmente inducir esa innovación social que se ha mencionado antes, que necesitamos urgentemente con el fin de promover una economía basada en las personas del planeta? Lawrence Quark mencionó la importancia de las alianzas globales. Estamos totalmente de acuerdo. Tenemos que impulsar las alianzas globales y las alianzas también a nivel intermedio y local. Entonces yo pasaría a dar la palabra a los invitados que tenemos para reflexionar sobre estos temas y les pediría hablar por un tiempo de máximo 10 minutos. Y el primero que tengo en la lista aquí, partiendo de lo local para llegar a lo internacional, es el señor Mahamane Touré, representante del municipio de Bamako, que nos va a hablar sobre las asociaciones locales, la innovación social y la resiliencia económica. Señor Touré, tiene la palabra. Yo lo veo al señor Touré, pero no tiene el audio. Ahora no lo veo. Ahora sí.
Aló. Aló.
Aló.
Aló. Aló.
Oui.
Aló.
Oui, on vous entend.
Ah, bien, merci. Toutes mes excuses, nous sommes sous la pluie et la connexion, elle n'est pas du tout bonne.
Mahamane, il n'y a pas de traduction en français. L'intervention doit être en anglais.
Okay, l'intervention. Okay, so I prepared my intervention in French, unfortunately, but I'm going to try.
Thanks.
Okay, all right. As I'm Mr. Touré, in charge of international relationships of Bamako district. What I say, I'm very sorry because it is raining in Bamako, and our connection is not very good. So I'm very sorry for this. As you notice, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well.
He muted again. He's
Hello.
We hear you now.
Hello.
Yes, it's okay. We can hear you now.
Hello. Sorry.
It seems so that his connection is not that good because we can hear him, but he cannot hear us. So maybe Roberto, I don't know if what do you think if we move to the next speaker while we try to get in touch with him again.
Me parece bien. El siguiente ponente que acaba de llegar es el director general del Instituto Nacional de Economía Social, Juan Manuel Ubier, que ahora sí, Juan Manuel, buenos días, un gusto tenerte aquí y nos gustaría darte la palabra para que nos hables de las asociaciones nacionales en un contexto nacional como es el de México. Tienes la palabra. No se te escucha.
Roberto, and fill in because we were supposed to talk the regional level, which is before the national level. So while Juan Manuel is connecting, maybe I can do that part.
Pero la parte regional no es la parte del Social Economy Europe.
Creo, Roberto.
The subnational one, the subnational is the one on Quebec, and then for Europe will be the regional one.
Perdón. Perdón, yo tengo el programa, entonces que me faltaba una parte. Beatrice, perdona. Entonces vamos a hablar de la parte subnacional. Y le doy la palabra a Beatrice.
Gracias, Roberto. Buenos días a todos desde México, pero hablando de la realidad en Quebec, and actually my English is a bit better than my Spanish, so I think I'll speak in English. I was asked to talk on multi-stakeholder partnerships that enable social economy ecosystems and social innovation, which is the SDG goal number 17. I think that the objective or the goal of this is really important, given the scale of the challenges that we're facing. Vic was right to say that many of these touch the global south more and that the needs are more desperate, but the responsibility, there's also needs in the north, and the responsibility of thinking and developing better in the north is also very strong, which requires us, I think, to change our economic logic and our development model. We're quite fortunate in Quebec to be able to count on an ecosystem that is quite diversified and that works to support the development of the social economy. This ecosystem was developed through collective work that was facilitated by the Chantier, my organization, that brings together sectoral networks of enterprises, networks of organizations for the development of the social economy at the regional level in Quebec, support structures for enterprises, and social movements that are committed to the objectives of the social economy. And so all of these actors come together to imagine and develop new tools for the growth of the social economy, either by helping to scale up existing enterprises or develop new enterprises in sectors where there's a need as a society for new, more sustainable and equitable business models. For example, in Quebec, care for elderly people, waste management, interregional transportation, and there are many more. Over the years, this collective work has produced a wide variety of enterprises. It's an important component of our economy in Quebec. and including networks of enterprises that constitute major social innovations. So for example, parent-run affordable daycare centers allowed for the participation of women in the labor force, reduced by 1/3 the poverty of single parent families. Same thing with home care, to services to elderly people to maintain them in their homes, have also significantly reduced or supported the participation of women in the labor market, support territorial vitality, etc. I don't think this development would have been possible if it had been left up to only sectoral networks that don't have the knowledge or the mandate to think outside of their sector on what new needs are. It also isn't possible for territorial networks that are just looking at their communities to have the capacity to learn and leverage sectoral experience and tools to develop new sectors at the national level. Support structures that accompany individual enterprises don't have also the capacity to develop tools and policies to structure a sector. And the presence of social actors in these, so all of these need to be acting together to have a broader understanding of what needs to be done and to have the capacity to really develop tools and policies that are structuring. And the presence of social actors in these discussions, so labor movements, the women's movement, the environmental movement, has also been fundamental to ensure that efforts are ambitious in terms of their objectives of social transformation, and also to enable this broad alliances, and which speaks to Roberto's point about given the size of these changes, if we really want to change something, we need to be working together as movements. Today in Quebec, we face a challenge of ensuring a more coherent work of the support structures that imagine, that document, that promote, that transfer, that finance the most important innovations, either at the local, at the regional, or at the Quebec-wide level. These organizations all have different autonomous boards of directors, but they serve the same movement of men and women that are committed to a more democratic and accountable economic development. So right now at the Chantier, we're looking at ways to ensure, aside from bringing many of these actors together on our own board, we're looking at ways to ensure that on issues like food security, food autonomy, equity, diversity, inclusion in the social economy, care for vulnerable populations, etc., different national or regional organizations are working together in a more cohesive way to achieve systemic results, and also to avoid overextending actors on the ground that are already doing important work by calling on their knowledge over and over in silos. I want to conclude by saying that when one talks about the necessity of organizations working together from different sectors and regions more coherently, this also has to include the government. Government has to be called upon to work more coherently, not only to develop the social economy via the Ministry of Economics, but also via the Ministry of Work and Social Security, municipalities and housing, environment, the Treasury Board that oversees purchasing practices, etc., so that we're not ignoring or even worse, undoing in one ministry the efforts that we're supporting in another. So through dialogue with the sector and intergovernmental dialogue, we will, I think, achieve a more cohesive and coherent and more systemic development. Thank
you. Muchas gracias, Beatriz. Muchos temas interesantes que dan la medida de la importancia de la economía social en Quebec y del rol que ha jugado en el tema de la innovación social, en el cuidado, en los servicios a la persona, en el rol de la mujer. Y bueno, Quebec sigue siendo un ejemplo, ¿no? para todos nosotros que trabajamos en la economía social. Ahora sí, tenemos al director del INAES listo, y es un gran placer darle la palabra para hablarnos de el tema de alianzas a nivel nacional. Juan Manuel, tienes la palabra.
Muchísimas gracias, Roberto. Me disculpo por los problemas de conexión, pero justo estamos en la Secretaría de Salud y creo que mejor no habría sido la preparación para compartir con ustedes. Estamos en la Secretaría de Salud del Gobierno de México en una reunión de alto nivel para la Estrategia Nacional de Prevención de Adicciones. Ustedes dirán, ¿y qué hace el del INAES ahí? Pues afortunadamente lo que ha logrado permear en el Gobierno de México es que el tema de la búsqueda de la paz y la prevención de la adicción no solamente está, como en otros esquemas, con el aumento de armas o el aumento de seguridad en el país, con las fuerzas policíacas, sino que tiene que ser una estrategia amplia donde la dotación de empleo, la dotación de servicios, como bien Beatriz ahora anunciaba, pues es muy importante para que las familias, los jóvenes especialmente, sientan que tienen redes de apoyo, pero no en unas cuestiones de apoyo imaginado como cuando hay una emergencia, sino que la cotidianidad pueda tener un respaldo para la dotación de los puestos de trabajo, que eso lleva a la generación de un ingreso y la generación también de una identidad constructiva que hace que los jóvenes puedan percibir su presente y su futuro de otra forma. Por eso es que para nosotros como Instituto Nacional de la Economía Social es tan importante participar. Este es un ejemplo de las cuestiones que hacemos en estas cuestiones transversales del Gobierno de México, donde vemos que, como solemos decir nosotros, el crimen organizado, las redes delincuenciales atraen a los jóvenes porque les ofrecen ingreso, les ofrecen identidad y les ofrecen poder. Y nosotros pensamos que para este tipo de objetivos, si no tenemos estructuras que justamente ofrezcan mejoramiento en el nivel de vida a través del trabajo, una identidad, y que eso lo da especialmente la empresa social, cuando el joven puede decir, esta es mi empresa, y además como tal puede decidir sobre ella y acceder a un poder, estamos generando otro tipo de concepción sobre la convivencia de las sociedades, especialmente de los jóvenes. Por eso es que, por ejemplo, participamos de esta red liderada por la Secretaría de Salud, respaldada por la Secretaría de Gobernación, donde interviene el Instituto Nacional de la Juventud, el Instituto Nacional de las Mujeres, la Secretaría de Economía, etcétera, etcétera, en un trabajo colaborativo de cara a la sociedad, donde el sistema educativo forma una parte importantísima. Tenemos una red de nodos de impulso a la economía social y solidaria, que ahora mismo está ya juntando a más de 90 instituciones, 90 instituciones educativas en conglomerados de trabajo local, con gobiernos locales, con sujetos, empresas de economía social que están generando un mosaico muy interesante para llevar metodologías, generación de empresas sociales para que se puedan cumplir estos objetivos. Por eso nosotros creemos que el cumplimiento de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible que nos plantea la ONU pueden ser más, la ruta de la economía social nos lleva con mayor certidumbre a la consecución, al logro de estos objetivos, y por eso este tipo de estrategias, puse un ejemplo, ¿no? por los minutos que tenemos, pero pongo este ejemplo de cómo nos vamos articulando con otros actores para poder tener una cobertura de estos objetivos. Desde luego el objetivo a lo mejor más complejo es el de llegar a estructuras que nos hagan sostenible la paz, pero afortunadamente para eso hay que transitar por los objetivos de inclusión económica, de que la pobreza pueda ser extinguida, que la alimentación básica pueda llegar a las comunidades. Hay comunidades donde estamos trabajando en protección de ecosistemas marinos porque justamente las empresas de economía social y que desgraciadamente también en esos ecosistemas el trasiego de la droga y las armas está muy presente. Bueno, a través de la inclusión de cooperativas pesqueras, de cooperativas que van generando cadena de valor, estamos haciendo que los jóvenes puedan acceder a otra perspectiva sobre ellos mismos, sobre su futuro y sus comunidades. Entonces, bueno, espero haber podido rápidamente dar este ejemplo de cómo articulados con otras instituciones y otras empresas de economía social, con universidades, podemos acceder a redes cada vez más complejas para que estos objetivos puedan estar cubiertos. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Juan. Muy interesante el ejemplo de articulación que has mencionado. Y yo creo también un tema que es crucial, o sea, el tema de los jóvenes, el tema de la identidad, de ofrecer en esta época que vivimos, no solo digo por el COVID-19, ¿no? Digo por esta difusión de mensajes que para los jóvenes son realmente negativos. Entonces, el tema de trabajar en ofreciendo una posibilidad de ser autónomos, porque eso es básico, pero también de tener una identidad que ponga en valor esos principios que la economía social tiene, ¿no? Como la participación, como la solidaridad, como la democracia, ¿no? Esas son todas cosas que estamos necesitando realmente muchísimo. Bueno, yo espero que también el plan de acción de la economía social para Europa incluya una componente que tenga que ver con la educación, porque creo que es un tema fundamental. Y ahora tengo el gusto de dar la palabra al director de la Social Economy Europe, a Víctor Meseguer, para hablarnos de una realidad regional como es la de Europa. Víctor.
Muchísimas gracias, Roberto. Thank you very much also to the UN Task Force and to RIPES and to GISEF, and of course to INAES, which is organizing this GISEF edition, for inviting us to this,
Víctor, no se escucha.
Really sorry, Roberto, the connection in my hotel room doesn't seem to be that good. So do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I was saying that we are in San Sebastian because tomorrow we have a public hearing of the Social Economy Intergroup in which we will talk about the Social Economy Action Plan, but also about Europe's industrial strategy and the role of the social economy in Europe's industrial strategy, and also about the recovery effort and the role of the social economy in the recovery plans of the different member states. And by the way, San Sebastian and the Basque Country, as you all know, because you all are experts, knowers, followers, activists of the social economy, is the homeland to the biggest group of worker cooperatives in the world, which is Mondragon Corporation. So everything here is cooperative. When I arrived this morning, I took an elevator that was made by a worker cooperative. When we pay in the bank, the bank is mostly the main bank in this region is a cooperative bank, and so on and so forth. Okay, I will try to be very brief because what I say is not that interesting and what the others say is far more interesting. But basically, I will try to share two ideas. First of all, there is an interaction between the different levels, and that interaction creates a lot of richness. Look, in Spain, the country that I know the best, and the country about which my president was going to speak, because it's also where his experience lays, social economy represents around 10% of total employment, a bit very similar to the data in France. Data that, by the way, is created by the French Observatory of Social Economy in cooperation with the French government. So by the Social Economy Organization in cooperation with the French government, which is very important. They are investing in having reliable data on the social economy. So in these two countries, social economy is 10%, but then the development at regional level is quite heterogeneous. My president comes from a region. So my president, Juan Antonio Pedreño, comes from a region, and I would like to share the screen to show you something, just a second. A region in which 20 years ago, or even less than 20 years ago, a bit 15 years ago, the social economy and the cooperative movement was almost marginal. And this is 1997. If we go back to the 80s, cooperatives in this region, the region of Murcia in southeast Spain, were again extremely marginal. And today, cooperatives have grown, have almost doubled in the last 15 years. But not only that, the region has more percentage of, the percentage of the social economy in the local GDP is above the national average. The percentage of the social economy in employment is above the national average. How have we arrived here? How has this been done at regional level? Public-private cooperation, public social economy cooperation, cooperation between the public administration and the social economy organization. Again, similar to what happens in France with the regional social economy chambers and what happens, I guess, in Quebec with Les Chantiers de l'Économie Sociale. A strong organization, which is not only a representative organization, but also a support center for the social economy, and a support center that works hand in hand with the public sector. Murcia happens to be also my region, and where I go there on Christmas and so on, and I work from this regional organization, what I see is that entrepreneurs, citizens from all over the region go there with their ideas to create cooperative enterprises, social economy enterprises. This happens because there is a strong support to the creation of these companies. Support in terms of grants, but not only, also support in terms of visibility, also a high-level quality support given by this intermediary organization. So what I want to say is that at the end, where magic happens is at local and regional level. Where social economy enterprise are created, it's at local and regional level. And what we can do from a European level, from a transnational, from a regional perspective, is to give coherence to that and to exchange what good practices and put together all the pieces of the puzzle. If in Spain or France, social economy represents 10% of employment, in other regions of Europe, in other countries, such as Slovenia, in which we are organizing an event next week, it only represents 1.2%. But the potential is there. What happens in certain regions could also happen there. And for that, again, I think that we are arriving, my personal view, and I will shut up very soon, is that we are arriving to a level of structuration that is very high. We are having more dialogue than ever at European level, but also at global level and intercontinental level. And this event is a demonstration. So we have many of the elements to scale up, to learn from each other. And also we have the interest from the public administrations. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Víctor. Me parece que el ejemplo de la región de Murcia es muy claro con respecto a un crecimiento importante en España. Y también quiero rescatar de lo que has dicho el tema de la importancia a nivel ahora más, digamos, regional o internacional del intercambio de experiencias, ¿no? Y metodologías. Eso creo que es fundamental para, yo creo, reforzar, ¿no?, la identidad de la economía social y de quién trabaja en la economía social. Nosotros en la OIT hemos visto esto en estos últimos 10 años, 12 hemos realizado estas academias de economía social. La próxima va a ser en Portugal en noviembre y son eventos de intercambios, pero creo que tienen una capacidad de crear redes temáticas, de estrechar vínculos. No es tanto el momento de aprendizaje, sino el momento de crear esos espacios de reflexión que después la gente pueda profundizar y encontrar en otras experiencias elementos útiles, ejemplos que puede aplicar en su día a día de trabajo. Así que absolutamente de acuerdo con la importancia de estos intercambios. Bueno, yo pasaría ahora a la experiencia internacional de la cual nos va a hablar Arnaud Boulanger del Pact for Impact en particular. Arnaud, tienes la palabra.
Muchas gracias, Roberto. Muchas gracias a los colegas en México en particular para darme la oportunidad de discutir y promover el proyecto de Global Alliance para la Economía Social, the Pact for Impact Alliance. It was initiated by France, in France, 2 years ago. And so let me maybe briefly give you a background about this project. So it's the next slide. The idea of a global alliance, a global international alliance for social economy gained traction, in fact, during the G7 French presidency in 2019. And it resulted in a summit, a very significant and tremendous success in France in July 2019. We succeeded to gather more than 500 participants and from 50 countries to initiate the project. This summit, in fact, revealed the need to further structure and enhance the international dimension of the social economy, both at the, I would say, the institutional and the practical levels. From the ignition point in July 2019, the French government, because we were part of it, we worked jointly with all the interested stakeholders, in particular the government representative, but not only, as you can see on later on the map, to set up the alliance based, I would say, on 2 legs. One leg is dedicated to build the recognition of social economy at the international level, in particular with a view to achieve a UN resolution. It's the core objective of the alliance at the institutional level. And I would say as to build a second leg dedicated to sharing best practices among all the relevant stakeholders, both at for multilateral institutions, and I think very much the UN Task Force, the OECD, the ILO, and the World Economic Forum, the colleague from Quebec, Spain, Luxembourg, Italy, etc., to be part of it, and all the local or regional ecosystem to have joined this initiative, not to mention RIPES and the Social Economy Europe. So we spent most of 2019 and 2020 to build a roadmap. And this is the next slide, where we achieved to gather all the main stakeholders around the table. And the priorities now for us in 2021 was to set up a permanent secretariat, which has been supported by the group International SOS, now represented by Camille Hartmann. She's in the room now. Thank you, Camille, for being here. And the group achieved to set up a permanent secretariat of the initiative in line with other initiatives of the same scale. And I would refer, for instance, to the One Planet Alliance. We are on the same track. With dedicated ambitions through 3 working groups. One working group dedicated to the governance of the alliance, to set up guiding principles and legal status to enable the alliance to grow on a sustainable basis. This working group is animated by France and RIPES, and we hope to achieve the first output of the group before the end of this year. Second working group is dedicated to the content, I would say, the thematic programs and the commitments. It's currently on the launch pad through 4 particular topics: financing, environment, gender equality, and support for social entrepreneurship. All key topics discussed both at the local, national, regional, and now the world level. Working Group 3, but it's already to a certain extent in place to mobilize and communicate about the alliance, to structure a communication strategy. And there is already a website, a Twitter account, a LinkedIn page, and you can find a link later in this presentation if you want to know more about where we stay in this project. First achievements and prospects for us. So it's the next slide, please. we have achieved, we have organized a significant event on April 2021 to re-explain the basic and the ambitions of the Alliance. There is now this permanent secretariat in place, and we are looking forward to gather more support to stabilize this secretariat in the long run. And we have updated the Alliance mission statement and discussion of the ruling principles. So there are already productions from the Alliance, thematic notes that you can find on the website, a global mapping also of what it means to be an SSE actor, which is relatively, and if not completely new in the landscape. And all relevant stakeholders are free to contribute and add to this already in place content. What we are looking forward for 2021, end of 2021 and 2022, it's a global pledge with 100 ideas of commitment dedicated for decision makers and the ecosystem players. The idea remains the same, to support the development of social economy and the inclusive economy. In terms of events, we are working together with the Permanent Secretariat and Group SOS on a wrap-up summit to take stock of the progress of the Alliance and to discuss its new initiatives, in particular in the context of the upcoming French presidency of the European Union, first semester 2022. So in principle, and it's an announcement, this summit should take place in Strasbourg on the 17th and 18th of February 2022. And you are most welcome to participate, if possible, physically in Strasbourg or like now on the network. So thank you again for giving me the opportunity to mention this very important initiative, and please feel free to join further. Thank you, Roberto.
Muchas gracias, Arnaud. Muy interesante la presentación con muchos temas que, en fin, requieren o requerirían mucho tiempo para ser profundizadas. A mí me parece que me quedo con un par de cosas. Una es el tema de conseguir más apoyo, ¿no?, para el secretariado. Esto es parte del construir alianzas. Creo que es importante construir una red de alianzas, ¿no?, para promover la economía social y solidaria. Y el otro tema que ha mencionado Arnaud es el tema del global mapping, ¿no?, del mapeo global, que a mí me suena como un desafío bastante complejo, pero muy necesario. O sea, una de las cosas que más necesitamos es tener datos sobre la dimensión de la economía social. Por lo tanto, los aliento a seguir este camino porque me parece que darían respuestas a muchos interrogantes. Bueno, ahora me gustaría hacerles algunas preguntas para ver si encuentro las preguntas que han llegado de la gente que está viendo nuestra sesión, nuestra mesa redonda. Pero tengo algún problema yo también con la conexión, no veo las preguntas, así que no les puedo hacer las preguntas porque no las tengo. Me gustaría, de todas maneras, pedirles el representante de Bamako no está en línea, de manera que no vamos a tener la experiencia, digamos, del nivel local de alianzas, pero sí me gustaría pedirles a Beatriz, a Víctor, a Juan y Arnaud, si tienen... aquí mira, me ha llegado una pregunta. Voy a leerla en inglés. What actions can be put in place to involve more the youth in the cultural and social change? We need to find a solution to today's challenges. No sé si les ha llegado la pregunta. Me gustaría pedirles si alguien quiere reaccionar a esta pregunta, si quiere comentar a esta pregunta que está enfocada a cómo involucrar más los jóvenes en los cambios que queremos implementar para resolver los problemas que tenemos. El tema de los jóvenes, ustedes saben que la pandemia ha golpeado todas y todos, pero algunos grupos más, ¿no? Los trabajadores de la economía informal, las mujeres y los jóvenes. Y yo creo que el tema de los jóvenes es un tema que, como mencionó también Juan Louvière, es fundamental. Entonces, ¿hay alguien que quiere comentar algo sobre cómo poder involucrar más los jóvenes en los cambios que necesitamos? Sé que es una pregunta difícil, pero
I will volunteer. I will volunteer. Yeah, I'm less and less young every day, but I will volunteer for that. So I think that I mean, you also said it, Roberto. Education is a key point. So that's quite fundamental. Mainstreaming social economy entrepreneurship in the education curricula, from primary and secondary school till university, vocational training, and so on. So that's quite relevant. By the way, yeah, what did I want to say? I think that the social economy already is connecting with the youth to a certain extent, right? We are connecting to, if not with all the youth, because the youth is plural, like any age group, with an important part of it. An important, I mean, we have heard the speech many times, an important part of the youth, which is in a quest for sense, which is not only looking for a professional career, let's say in business as usual, but which is looking for something more, something that goes beyond that, something that has an impact on society, has an impact on the environment, something that serves as a driver of change. So social economy already connects with that. What we need to make is the connection, and the connection is about, because I mean, the social economy is there. The need for a different economy, the need for a different workplace, the need to do something with sense is also there. So we need to connect the offer and the demand, and it is not always the case. And to do that, what we need is investing in visibility, building alliances also with the youth movements, with civil society, and indeed, very important, investing in education. And I could give examples of that, but I don't want to be eternal in the reply.
Muchas gracias, Víctor. Mira, Beatriz está ahí. Entonces yo me gustaría preguntarle, Beatriz, Quebec es el lugar del mundo donde a mí me ha tocado viajar bastante como trabajador de OIT, y en Quebec yo he encontrado un conocimiento de la gente de lo que es la economía social muy difuso. Entonces me imagino que esto es también consecuencia de una inversión en los aspectos educativos de los jóvenes, ¿no? En las escuelas, ¿me equivoco o cómo es?
So my internet is not great, but I hope you can hear me okay. Unfortunately, no. it's not at all well established in our education system, which is really particular given the history, the long history of the social economy in Quebec. You know, some of these co-ops are more than 100 years old and have guided the development of our economy in certain sectors, namely in agriculture. I think for me, the answer to that question, which I hope we're still discussing, I got booted off, is around empowering youth. You know, sometimes we talk about youth and we think we need to educate them, or we need to have them do a little side event, and then we take the recommendations and we say, oh, that's nice, but we don't cede power to them. And I think the social economy works best when we increase the table and the amount of people who have the diversity of actors who have voice at that table. So not only consulting youth, but giving youth a voice to say,
muchas gracias, Beatriz.
Yep.
Me queda un poco decepcionado de la respuesta, pero te agradezco la franqueza de la respuesta. Tengo otra pregunta desde José García, que escribe desde la directa Facebook y pregunta, yo leo el español, pero la pregunta yo no la entiendo muy bien, quizá alguno de ustedes sí. La pregunta dice, ¿cómo podemos hacer para bajar apoyos como asociación civil? No veo ninguna reacción. A mí, francamente, me cuesta entender el sentido de la pregunta. Si alguien tiene alguna interpretación, Beatriz. Unmute, please.
Could I come in here, Roberto?
Oh, okay, I can. I think this might refer to the recognition and financial support from government of intermediary organizations. Oftentimes, organizations that bring together civil society actors are seen like it's just talk or it's not important, and we directly put, if we put resources, it's directly into enterprises. And the importance of having these spaces of dialogue and of coming together and have them financed, because it takes time for actors to get involved in thinking outside of their enterprise on questions that are larger of the support and development of the social economy. That would be my hypothesis.
Muchas gracias. Me parece verosímil. Sí, estamos hablando de acceso a financiamiento, en definitiva, si entiendo bien. No sé si Vic, querías la palabra. Es tuya. Vic van Vuren.
Thank you. I want to make two brief comments on the first question and the second one. When it comes to the youth are crying out for a value system that is different to the one they're experiencing now. And our education system is not letting them understand or comprehend what the social and solidarity economy is all about. So we're producing youth out of an education system that wants a value system, but they're not quite sure where to find it. So when we have these sessions like this week, we're finding the youth join in by default because they want to learn more and not quite sure how to go about it. We need a far more structured approach at national level, in curricula and regional level, to get the SSE mainstreamed into the education system. Then we'll start getting more and more people that are qualified to enter into the SSE space far more effectively than we're doing at the moment. If you look at the potential of SSE and what we're achieving, and we are achieving a lot, but the percentage of what we can achieve now is much, much bigger than the impact we're making. And most of it's got to do with educating more and more people. On the what can governments and the actions of individuals, we cannot just wait for leaders in government to take the lead. Governments need to have a national policy, but it's going to take years to get that into place in the developing economies. What we've got to do now is to start with the groundswell from the bottom up, as well as trying to push from the top down. And the more we can get people together at the local level, local economic development level, then we'll put more pressure on governments to put an enabling environment into place so that it can function more effectively, getting things like access to finance and the like. I sound like a preacher, I can go on both these topics, but I think they are both key questions that we need to pay more attention to. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a Vic. Yo no tengo más preguntas, entonces a esta altura estoy un poco perdido. Quiero ayuda en el sentido de que tengo que pasar la palabra a alguien, no sé a quién. Le voy a pasar la palabra a Julie, que va a ayudar con esto. Les agradezco muchísimo a todos los panelistas, a Beatriz, a Arnaud, a Juan, a Víctor, y le doy la palabra a Julie. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Roberto. Muchas gracias a ti también, Roberto, por tu maravillosa moderación y por aportar tanto contenido a esta sesión. Y gracias también a los ponentes. Ha sido muy interesante escucharles. Y bueno, ahora seguimos con el desarrollo de la sesión y pasamos a las palabras de cierre de la sesión, donde Yvon Poirier, que es representante de RIPES, y también Karin Berlien, que también es la coordinadora de RIPES-LAC, nos van a hablar un poco de lo que estaba comentando Vic al principio de la sesión, el proceso de regionalización de las actividades del Grupo de Trabajo de Naciones Unidas para la Economía Social y Solidaria, que tiene como objetivo el ayudar al trabajo de los actores y las redes de economía social en continentes como África, Asia y también los países latinoamericanos, para incrementar precisamente el potencial de la economía social y solidaria en cada una de estas regiones, como estrategia para superar las inigualdades que también ha causado el COVID, y también para conseguir los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Voy a dar la palabra entonces a Yvon para ver si nos puede dar más información sobre este proceso de regionalización. Yvon, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Julie. Yes, I will explain now the program we have prepared for regionalizing the UN Task Force activities. A bit of background first. The UN Task Force started in 2013, but so far all the meetings or the activities have been global in nature. The existence of the task force itself, its publications and actions have greatly helped the promotion of SSC at the global level. This has helped RIPES in our work. Very recent achievements are the recognition of SSC in the report of the UN Secretary General Guterres of last February, that he was prepared for the Commission on Social Development. So even the UN Secretary General now recognizes the importance of SSC. And as said previously, it will be a central issue for next year at the ILO conference. But the United Nations Task Force has also been very important for the work of the networks and other actors in the promotion of SSC. The creation of the Knowledge Hub, the actions to support the establishment of an enabling institutional and policy environment of SSC, and the coordination of international efforts to strengthen SSC have been very useful for the advocacy activities of SSC actors and networks since 2013-14. The Secretariat of the Task Force is based in Geneva, and most members who are UN agencies plus OECD who participate in the meetings are based in Geneva. At first, the observers were only international organizations. However, in recent years, Many of the new observers who have joined are from Europe. So because of geography, in part, the task force has been more active in meetings in Europe than in other continents. Why did we propose to have regional activities with the task force? The SSC actors and networks in the other continents are more and more aware of the excellent work of the task force, and they wish to engage more directly. This will support their work and strengthen the potential of SSC in each region as a strategy to overcome the increased inequalities that have been caused by COVID-19 in order to achieve the SDGs. However, instead of engaging directly in the meetings of the UN Task Force or the 30, 40 people attend, instead of having people from Africa or Asia to attend the meetings, which is complicated because of language and time zone issues, Laurence Clarke is a good example of that problem. The proposal was to co-organize regional activities of the task force. So this was agreed by the UN Task Force meeting of last May 15. What are the objectives of these meetings? We want to strengthen international and regional recognition of SSC by promoting knowledge of SSC and consolidate SSC networks in Africa, in Asia, and Latin America. For now, this is the 3 continents we want to outreach much more with. We want to increase the visibility of the work of the UN Task Force among public institutions and SSC actors in the 3 continents. For example, we feel that in South America or in Asia or even in Africa, people are not very aware of what the task force is doing. All the great work has been done in the last years. And we want to involve regional UN agencies. For example, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, in Spanish it's CEPAL, which is now rejoining the task force. And we will link in Asia, for example, with the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, which is called ESCAP in Asia, which our friends in Asia know well. Also in South Africa, for example, Vic was mentioning the European Union and their regional organizations such as ECOWAS or CEDEAO in French in the West Africa, but also other organizations who are members of the who are not necessarily members of the task force, who will outreach as much as possible in the regions. The meeting format, of course, they will be held virtually, co-organized by task force and REPAS, with the support of members and observers who contribute. Already SSC International Forum has offered to support. The REPAS and continental networks and the UN Task Force Secretary will involve as much as possible regional members of the task force or regional offices of members. For example, ILO offices in Asia or in Africa, but also other observers, for example, RCA, which has members all over the world. And of course, to solve one of the big problems that we had so far, we will have simultaneous translations. In Africa, we will need French and English and maybe other languages because Africa has also Portuguese-speaking people. And in Asia, well, I guess English will be the main language we'll be using. So this is what the plan is. Our calendar is to organize this before the end of the current year. And as soon as possible, we will announce these events. So for us, as Julie mentioned in the beginning, this is really will help strengthening the ecosystem that exists at all levels, and also connecting, as we did today, the interconnection between the ecosystems at all the levels. So this is the way we want to go, because this will strengthen what we're doing with the UN. This will strengthen what we're doing in the countries. This will help for UN resolution. This will help the countries with their policies. We have lots of the knowledge. We have most of the available knowledge we need. However, we need to organize this to outreach to the people, to the organizations in different countries and continents. Thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne, for such a detailed explanation of this regionalization process. Karin, te veo ahí, sí. Karin, una pregunta. ¿Cómo veis este proceso de regionalización que está explicando Yvonne para reforzar el reconocimiento de la economía social y solidaria en los continentes y también a nivel internacional? ¿Cómo lo veis desde América Latina, desde RIPESLAC?
Gracias, Julie. Gracias por la invitación. Muy interesante escucharles a todos, a todas. Bueno, este proceso de regionalización también acá estamos tejiendo, construyendo, también recuperando, visibilizando las experiencias locales que se están desarrollando en torno a la economía social y solidaria. Creemos que sin duda tienen mucha sintonía con los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible, pero también nos parece que desde este sur también para nosotros hace sentido no solamente en términos de la integración de todas las líneas de acción que ustedes han venido ya mencionando, sino también nos parece muy sensible visibilizar la voz de los pueblos originarios, los mensajes asociados al buen vivir, el Cuñemoñén, el Kumakaksay, que desde una visión más integral, ¿no? Que piensa la producción y la reproducción de la vida. Nos parece que levantar estas banderas hoy día, multiplicarlas, escuchar las voces de nuestros pueblos antiguos en ese sentido, entender la noción de buen vivir, no como solamente asociada al consumo, sino como una forma de relacionarnos, articularnos y vincularlos también con la naturaleza y el entorno, es fundamental. En ese sentido, creemos también que desde la economía solidaria requerimos la decolonización y en ese sentido levantar estas banderas que creemos que hoy día más que nunca son vigentes y urgentes a propósito del cambio climático. Entonces, más bien, más allá de adherir solamente a objetivos que vengan discutidos por organizaciones del norte, nos parece interesante la posibilidad de entrar en diálogo, ¿cierto? Desde estos otros lugares de significantes, de estas otras formas de relacionarnos, entonces también repensar, como les digo, la economía social, pero en clave desde la economía solidaria, para poder integrar estas otras formas de minar las economías. Finalmente, me gustaría destacar también, a propósito desde que este es un espacio global y donde está la OIT y siempre pensamos mucho, ¿cierto?, la economía social en clave de las posibilidades de articulación en torno al trabajo, señalar que esto también requiere el diálogo, por ejemplo, con la Organización Mundial de Comercio, en términos de que hay muchos tratados internacionales firmados hoy día que asfixian la economía solidaria en los territorios. Digo que la asfixian porque tenemos grandes, si ustedes quieren, empresas transnacionales que hoy día están teniendo un manejo de la naturaleza que va en contra de lo que está ocurriendo hoy día, o las banderas que intentan levantar la economía solidaria en sus territorios. Entonces, tenemos dirigentes que han sido perseguidos y que están amenazados. Tenemos grandes luchas hoy día y mucha tensión en América Latina y el Caribe. Tenemos Cuba con un bloqueo que incluso para las reuniones de RIPESLAC significa que no podemos utilizar ciertas plataformas porque de frente no llegan. Entonces creemos que también estos espacios tienen que servir justamente para generar la incidencia en esos otros mundos, en esos otros lugares, también globales, ¿cierto? Entonces, yo quisiera hacer el llamado para que hagamos el puente y podamos hacer la presión justamente con eso, con levantar acuerdos para poder generar mayor flexibilidad y autonomía para las decisiones de los pueblos, y que entonces estos tratados internacionales firmados no signifiquen como la piedra de tope, porque estamos haciendo mucho trabajo desde abajo, pero en el camino nos vamos encontrando con restricciones que afectan a los estados, que después las van a afectar en términos de pago, ¿cierto?, de deudas, de castigos, por no poder cumplir las condiciones. Entonces, de verdad, vamos viendo que necesitamos la acción desde lo local, pero también con una consistencia desde lo global. Y por otro lado, el sistema financiero, que sabemos que es otra soga que está todo el tiempo asfixiando. Entonces, desde las economías solidarias se levantan banderas y se articulan, ¿cierto?, formas alternativas de la producción y la reproducción de la vida, pero nos vamos topando con estos puntos que yo creo que no solamente van asfixiando a este sur, digamos, sino que tienen implicancia en el sur global y probablemente también en el norte, en el sur que habita en el norte, ¿cierto? En las comunidades que están también interactuando y haciendo territorio desde la invisibilidad y la resistencia en el norte. Así que me parece que es un desafío y en ese proceso vamos avanzando y construyendo colectivamente. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Karin. Gracias por tus interesantes reflexiones, por el llamado también que haces, que también tiene que hacernos reflexionar, obviamente. Pues no estoy viendo o no tenemos más preguntas de la audiencia, y sabiendo que hemos agotado nuestra hora y media y que es tarde en bastantes de los países donde estamos, yo pienso que podríamos dar por finalizada la sesión. Antes, dejarme agradecer otra vez muy profundamente a todos los participantes, porque son horas logísticamente complicadas y todos habéis estado muy predispuestos a participar en esta sesión. Entonces, muchas gracias por vuestra participación, y también especialmente agradecer a Gisève, a Logan Squark, que está aquí con nosotros aún, por este maravilloso foro que han organizado, y a ENAES también. Pues muchas gracias a todos y a todas. Espero que hayáis disfrutado y gracias por vuestra atención y por vuestra participación. Hasta luego.
Xochimilco, declarado Patrimonio Cultural de la Humanidad desde 1987, es el último remanso de lo que antiguamente fue el lago de Xochimilco y de Texcoco. Pasear por sus canales con 183 kilómetros de extensión es disfrutar de la naturaleza y de estos bellos paisajes.
Está conformado por un gran sistema de chinampas, en los cuales están bordeando cada uno de sus canales alimentados por manantiales naturales. Podrás apreciar garzas, una infinidad de chinampas, que son un proceso de cultivo que se da desde la época prehispánica, donde se cultivan hortalizas y una gran variedad de árboles.
Cuenta con paseos tradicionales a bordo de estas embarcaciones que se llaman trajineras, muy coloridas, donde prevalecen los nombres de mujeres. Xochimilco, en su nombre prehispánico, quiere decir Xochitl, flor, mitl, sembradío, y col, lugar. Ven al sembradío de las flores. La Ciudad de México goza de una geografía privilegiada, conserva diversas áreas naturales, entre las que encontramos el Parque Nacional Desierto de los Leones, el Parque Nacional Cumbres del Ajusco, el Bosque de Chapultepec, el Bosque de Aragón, la Sierra de Guadalupe y las áreas chinamperas de Tláhuac y Xochimilco.
El Bosque de Chapultepec, en sus 810 hectáreas, se levantan majestuosos árboles de más de 500 años de antigüedad. También fue ocupado desde época prehispánica, donde se construyeran diversos acueductos para canalizar el agua a la Ciudad de México. A su vez, podemos realizar actividades al aire libre como son caminata, senderismo e incluso andar en bicicleta.
Te invitamos a que vengas a la Ciudad de México y disfrutes de estas áreas naturales.